When you power up the machine, after you get a loading program please wait screen, you'll get this main screen. We need to bring on the saw blade. We hit this button, we'll bring in the saw blade. I pulled the fuses for it so I don't have to talk over the motor and the saw blade spinning. Once this button's hit, the servo will be ready in 5 seconds. So what you do is all these screens here on your main screen, we'll walk through them really quick. Alarm screens will tell us if the encoder's not hooked up, if you got the encoder hooked up backwards, if we have an over travel, maybe when somebody moved it, they pushed it on a home switch, you need to push it out an inch. Plain English to really help you out. The tech support screen gives us the version of the software, the customer it was built, information like that. The clock screen is good because it'll stamp the time when an alarm happened and you could set the clock this way. You have an auxiliary output screen, which is an output that'll go on every time the saw cycles, which you could wire to a printer, a conveyor, a box pusher, something in that fashion. There's a batch output, which you could set to 100 pieces to wire to an alarm or a buzzer or anything in that nature to let an operator know to change a batch. And there's a nice digital input screen. This tells if is the table home switch on it, is the table travel limits okay, is the saw blade running, is the saw blade home, things like that. It may help the technician from even having to dig too deep to find out if there's a switch or something out of whack. Total length run is just a simple how many feet we've ran today button. So I'm going to end up in the main screens that the operator would live in, if you will. There's a control button. In the control button, we're just telling you the encoder's running, that's our speed. We just have the machine running on an encoder driver, so it's fluctuating a little bit, it's not on a puller. Our encoder counts will start counting up when we start cycling. Your cut length is just a simple entry button. If I want to cut a 26¼ inch part, I enter like so. It puts it up in the value. I could double check everything's okay. I could change it, and when I'm done, just exit the screen. Manual home button just homes the table if you wanted to set it up in line. Manual cut just does a sample cut. I call them a salesman sample cut. Hey, cut me off a 2-foot piece, I got to bring it to a customer. Now there's a sub screen for the product and batch counter. That's where I could set my batch size, turn the batch on or off, turn the product counter on or off, reset both at once. Very simple. And there's a setup screen that we could say if we really need to cut at 60, 80 feet a minute, we got to get that table home quicker. If you don't, let's let it go home at a nice rate. The blade curve, usually put the thickness of the blade so the operator doesn't have to add that to the part length. And then cut length offset if you want to add in for shrinkage. External cut mode, that's an option where if people want to tell us when to cut. Say they're trying to line that hole up to a hole, the cut up to a hole, some other drilling operation are doing upstream. So basically, if I hit start cutter, or start the saw, sorry, we'll do our first crop cut. Right now you can't hear it, but the blade's going up, the blade's going down, the table's going home. And then he'll just cut every so many inches. So basically we could back up a little bit and just show the saw cycling for you a couple times in that mode. And Scott maybe could get an angle showing the clamps going up and down.